It's a map of North America for people that are just listening. Okay, you see all the little dots.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
related to hockey.
Yeah.
Do you have a guess on what it is?
Kind of. Okay, so I was going to say that it looks like it's very populated north of the border, north of the U.S.
Yeah. What do you think it represents? Just if you had to guess, Charlie.
Players, like the population of players.
But yeah, players that play where?
Youth hockey.
No. This is the all North American players that ever played in the NHL where they were born.
Oh, okay.
Interesting, eh?
Okay.
So for people just watching,
all the history of NHL players ever to play
since like 1917 or 18. Like
this is North America.
North America.
Okay.
So they gave the caveats in the post that they made about this, like it's as accurate as we have. So maybe it's not 100% perfect, but it's like a good representation of where the people are from.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And so coupled with that, there was a couple different posts.
Okay, so if people can't see that, it would be like 98% were
basically
Canadian at
the
time.
Yeah, it's all right around the border, kind of.
Yeah.
Most heavily in Ontario, pretty heavy around like New York, Boston on the state side, and then on the west coast around Edmonton through there, it's a little bit more sporadic. And then everything else is kind of like all over the place. But you got something? No. So then another post with that. So this was a number of players by place. So in Canada, as an example, of this group of players that has ever played in the NHL, they have, and again, this is just from North America, they had 2,398 from just Ontario.
Ever to play in the NHL.
Yeah.
Ever to play in the NHL.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they said. I don't know.
100 and some years.
Yeah. So 2,398. Again, like plus, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but it's close enough. I guess,
it's
right?
Close. It can't be that off.
Right. So, so that's one, which I thought was kind of cool. The next biggest in Canada is Quebec.
Yeah.
871 ever.
Wow.
Yeah. Right.
If you would have asked me that without showing me that, I would have said the numbers were higher.
Yeah, well, you think we're talking global, right? This is people coming from everywhere. So it's like, it doesn't seem like a very big number, right? So, and then I think I had one more. So in the States, biggest state producing NHL players, a couple notables, Minnesota, 304. 304. That's the most in the U.S.
Yeah.
So put that next to Ontario, which is almost 2,400, right?
Wow.
And then they have other countries kind of thing. And up there is Czechoslovakia. Wow. Finland, Russia, Sweden, 405. And they broke up Russia between like USSR and Russia. Like they're counting that as two different places, but they had like 400. Which is kind of interesting. But yeah, so after Ontario, it's like not even close anywhere else.
It's incredible.
Right? So then the other one I was looking at was by city. Yeah. Again, like how accurate, I don't know. Yeah. It is Toronto. It's 430. Sorry, read the wrong number. So from Toronto, 430 NHL players.
Ever?
No. You think it's more?
Ever.
Since 1917.
To
play in the NHL. Born in Toronto.
I would say have to be higher.
But Ontario's only 2,400. You think there's more?
Wow.
It says 430, born in Toronto. Out of 2,400 ever, 400 coming from Toronto. You think there's more?
It seems like it has to be. But having said that, there could be. What is considered Toronto? Like the GTA is different than Toronto, right?
Right. This would be like the city of Toronto, not the GTA.
It wouldn't necessarily be Markham.
No.
It wouldn't necessarily be Mississauga. No. So,
no.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
This is just Toronto.
Okay, I could live with that. But nonetheless, it seems like a minuscule number.
Okay, so now the next, what do you think the next city is?
Next city?
Yeah.
Next city. I'm going to say, can I pick two or three?
Sure.
Montreal, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver.
Wow. So Montreal is the next. 268. Edmonton, 205. Ottawa, 166. Winnipeg, 200. Calgary, 150. Yeah. The next one after Calgary is London, Ontario, 57. Next is Moscow. So, oh no, sorry, that it went out of order. Sorry about that. Went out of order. So the Toronto one is, so it's Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Calgary, Regina, Thunder Bay, Saskatoon.
Well, I was going to say if you're going to pick a surprising number of NHL players, I would have said it was Saskatchewan.
Moscow.
Yeah.
Sudbury.
Well, yeah, look at us.
I know. Stockholm. Hamilton. Kitchener.
So little bit of it is skewed just simply because the 90s invasion of Russians, so previous to that there could have been maybe more. The Swedes, Finns, and all that, those other countries, and even the U.S. has come on very, very strongly in the last 20 years, right?
Yeah. So I don't know what the source is on this because it is interesting. It doesn't seem like, I feel like I don't believe it, but like it has, like Windsor's 18 has 54 NHL players come out of Windsor.
Yeah, that's probably true though.
But then you think from the inception of the NHL, like original 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's probably guys that are all kind of around those places.
Okay, and there's only 800 and some players in the NHL,
right?
And it's not 800 new guys a year.
Right.
Might be 60 new guys a year,
right?
Maybe a cup of coffee. No, I know, man.
Exactly.
The numbers are so small. Those numbers are so small, so crazy.
Like I'm just sitting here like having a hard time believing it. Right.
I know.
So
I know.
They also did it by total games played. They have like the stats.
Yeah.
Too. So this was the number I said before. So total points of NHL players, highest is from Toronto. 44,388
that makes more
points
sense.
in the NHL. 105,000 NHL games for players coming from Toronto. So anyways, I guess my why I thought it was interesting was exactly that. The numbers are so low that it seems not believable.
It seems like it's been around for so long, so low, and there's so many when you're focused on that. And I think most people are focused on, let's say, like your year when you were played, you're probably focused on 2-3 year gap, like 2 ahead, 2 behind. Those are the players that you're familiar with, and everyone that seems to get drafted is from Toronto. Yeah. So you think, no, it's got to be Toronto. There's got to be more, but yeah, when it comes down to the smallest, the actual numbers, it's very, very. What's the total number? I don't know if you have that there, but what's the total number of players that ever played in the NHL? I think it's like 5,000. You want to look it up, Charlie? How many players have ever played in the NHL? Total players.
Just as a side note too, though, how delineated it actually is. I just clicked on like the last page. I'm on page like 18, and it actually just happens to say Tecumseh, Ontario. There's 2 people from Tecumseh, so it is
Tim Kerr.
They're not considering Tecumseh Windsor. Is my point.
Okay, yeah.
So like Toronto is Toronto.
Yeah,
it's not right. So it is very, it is very like delineated that way.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, it doesn't. I don't have a total number. It doesn't say how many ever, but you would think that they have that.
I think it's something like 5,000 ever in the history of the world. It might be even less.
Maybe it's on here.
Yeah, I got my kid looking it up.
But no, yeah, just interrupt me whenever if you find it. But anyways, I thought that was kind of an interesting little piece that's to start on. So you think about how many kids play. Like we did an episode before on the numbers, and in Ontario, there's like whatever 500,000, 550,000 registered hockey players in 2022 or 2021. Whenever we did that episode, there was 2,400 ever to play in the NHL from Toronto, ever, or from Ontario. Sorry, ever. You know what I mean? Crazy. What do you got? Around
7,000 people.
Ever.
7,500. Around that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, ever.
Right. So and then that kind of lines up. Like, so from Ontario, you have, let's say 2,500. So a good chunk of that, quarter of it coming from Ontario, right? That kind of makes sense.
So